Welcome to Stocks to Watch. Today, we're speaking with a company focused on the importance of potash, a basic nutrient for plants and an important ingredient in fertilizer made up of a group of minerals and chemicals that contain potassium. I'm Ashley Berry, and here to discuss this, its significance, and a very successful few recent meetings is Farhad Abasov, chairman of Millennial Potash. The exploration company is developing its flagship Banio Potash project in Gabon, a Central African country rich in natural resources. They're listed on the TSXV as MLP and the OTCQB as MLPNF. Also, the Frankfurt Exchange as X0D. Farhad, welcome.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Good to see you.
Always a pleasure. Can you provide an overview of the Banio project under Millennial Potash for those unfamiliar with it? It would also be helpful, perhaps, to include some key points about the importance of potash and its market.
Sure, Ashley. Look, Millennial Potash has been developing its flagship Banio project in Gabon for the last 8 months now. So this is a fairly new opportunity. This project has been previously explored, and that's what we usually like in our projects. We want to see serious potential before we get involved. But since then, we have raised some money, we've mobilized, we started drilling. So we see tremendous potential, actually much bigger potential as we spoke last time because of much thicker potash horizons here than we originally expected. So we think in the next few weeks, and then of course months after that, we'll see tremendous resource size and the resource quality in this project. And then of course, we'll be doing economic analysis that in this case, we're going to start with preliminary economic assessment. So the project is going to be pretty well shaped up probably by the end of the first quarter next year. And it is in a very good location, not only a good country, Gabon is a very stable country with very strong, as you mentioned, tradition of oil and gas and mining, but also it's a very good location within the country. It's right on the coast. So it will afford us a number of benefits and advantages, including, of course, lower shipping costs, but also we'll have access to seawater to use for our solution mining. So it is really exciting project for us.
Yeah, it sounds like significant developments just in the last few weeks since we last spoke. Really excited to talk about your active participation in the UN Climate Change Conference in Dubai. That obviously underscores your commitment to sustainability in both your operations and the broader environment. I also understand that you had the opportunity to meet with the president of Gabon, and you described it as a very cordial and productive meeting, which was also attended by other prominent figures, including key ministers and other government officials. Can you share the main topics discussed during this meeting?
Sure, Ashley. First of all, we're very pleased that we're actually invited to COP28 specifically. As a small company, as you know, it's important for us to be present there to meet with the right people. But we're also even more excited when the president of Gabon decided to visit and attend COP28 meetings, and he found time for us as well. As I already described, we just started in Gabon, so we're not really well known. So the very fact that he decided to meet with us showed their commitment to new investments, to new companies, to new projects. And the meeting was really amazing. And His Excellency invited all the key ministries to the meeting. So it wasn't just I would say, general meeting, the kind of familiarization meeting or just for the sake of saying hi and saying generalities. It was a very specific, very productive in terms of what the project needs, what kind of support the government can provide. And because the ministers of economy, ministry and environment were present as well, in addition, of course, to His Excellency the President. And the key message from the President was that not only do we support your project, we want you to accelerate it. We want you to advance it as fast as you can to production, because we see your project as a driver, as the locomotive of local economic growth. So that was a very important message, overall message from the President. But when we really started delving into the details of the project and what project needs for successful development, then of course we had a very important and substantive exchange with those ministries that I mentioned, specifically on the infrastructure support coming from the government, on the port, and of course access to the power grid and natural gas pipelines and so forth. And it was very refreshing and very, of course, encouraging for me and of course for the company to hear the words coming from them that not only do they again see the importance of this project in that part of the country, but they also realize that certain infrastructure elements have to be there for the project to be successful. it's not enough just for the company to do what they do best in terms of exploration and development, but the government also has to collaborate to make sure that we have a port ready to go before production, to make sure that our facilities also have access to all the infrastructure elements. So those are very specific topics that we discussed. And in the end, it was great to hear from His Excellency the President said, why is it going to take you so long to develop this project? We want it to be as fast as possible. And that shows that, the country understands the importance of major mining projects and how critical they are to the development of the local economy. And in a very environmentally, conscientious and friendly way. And that was very important. Of course, that was the overall theme at COP28 as well.
Yeah, I would say the fact that they're asking you, requesting you very respectfully to ramp up operations must be incredibly exciting. And that level of support obviously can only propel you further. I think it's interesting and important maybe to explain to our listeners and to our viewers the importance of potash in and of itself and your project and how it aligns with Gabon's economic growth objectives.
Actually, potash is a key fertilizer used worldwide in all agricultural countries worldwide, but it's a very interesting sector. It's dynamic. It's quite specific in that, unlike many other sectors, many other mining sectors, it's highly geographically concentrated. So about half a dozen countries in the world produce potash, and 3 of them, Canada, Belarus, and Russia, produce almost 70% of the world's potash. So, and you can imagine with current geopolitical situation in Europe, in Eastern Europe, obviously there's significant constraints on potash coming out of Belarus and Russia. But also it tells all of the users in the world that they really need to diversify away from these countries, that they really need new sources of potash coming from what we call geopolitically neutral countries like Gabon. Now, there are 2 things here that I would like to mention. One is that, as I mentioned, the entire world actually imports and uses potash. And the major importers are Brazil, and then US and China and India in that order. And Brazil is the largest one with 13 million tons of potash imported every single year. And we are going to be the nearest supplier of potash to Brazil once in production, because we're right on the western coast of Africa. But also, Africa itself is a large user of potash, and they have no domestic production, as the entire continent produces plenty of phosphate or nitrogen, but no potash whatsoever. So we will be, once in production, of course, we'll be the first potash producer in Africa. And that's how we're positioning this project, actually. And that's what really excited His Excellency the President and the ministers, because I think they knew that it was an important project. They did not realize how big of a role this project may play, not only in the economy of the country, but also for food security of the entire continent.
Absolutely. The significance of that. Unbelievable. You also met with the CEO of the National Agency of Investment Promotion of Gabon. Can you provide a little bit more details about the important role and the outcomes of that meeting?
Yes, that investment agency has a very clear mandate, actually, is obviously to foster foreign direct investment into the country, not only into mining, of course, into all different sectors, but since he was actually at COP28, the main focus was actually on resource companies. Of course, they have plenty of oil and gas. It was really mining. And we had several meetings with the CEO, and at every instance, actually, he gave us support in different areas, not only in words, but actually connecting us with the right infrastructure builders or providers, construction companies, and also investment firms and funds from within Gabon and outside who are interested in different mining opportunities, including potash. So it was a real hands-on, specific assistance that the group is providing. And I was really excited to meet with them several times. And again, of course, the CEO was present at the meeting with the president as well.
Fantastic. So for current and potential investors, what does all this growing support mean for you, for the company, and for those that are already invested or might be interested in investing?
Actually, there are 2 things. One, as you probably remember, there's been a change in the government a few months back, and so we're newcomers to the country. So there's a big change from the previous government as far as we're concerned, in that we now see tremendous support from the new government across the board. All of these ministers that I mentioned, they're all newly appointed. So we can see the zeal and real willingness on their part to help the project. And I think that sends a very strong and clear message to our investors and, of course, future shareholders as well, that the country is there to support us, that we'll have not only any issues with permitting down the road, but we think that we'll have actually green light to go full throttle forward with our project. And that's very important because, as you know, in many of these countries, the political stability and, of course, the government support is critical before any major investor would come in and invest in the country. And I think this will open the doors for us to access significant capital, starting basically since that meeting, to develop this project at a fast pace. I mean, we've already been developing, frankly, in a record time. We started in March. We already started drilling. We're getting 43-101 ready to go as well in the next few weeks. But I think we'll be able to expedite the advancement of this project even further starting next year. And again, I think this will give a significant comfort level and reassurance to our both current shareholders and future investors.
Yes, very, very successful end of the year meetings for you, it sounds like, and talking about ramping up operations, all this support, very, very important for you to continue on your very, very crucial mission. Farhad Abasov, Chairman of Millennial Potash, thank you again so much for joining us here on Stocks to Watch. And we really look forward to not only hearing about you ramping up operations, but also new milestones from your company.
Thanks so much, Ashley.